The Academy of Classical and Folk Arts at IIT Kharagpur dedicates today's event to the memories of the stalwarts of Indian classical music whom we have lost to the call of eternity in the last 1.5 years. Even though they are not amongst us today, they continue to live in our hearts through their music. Good evening, Namaskar. On behalf of the Academy of Classical and Folk Arts at IIT Kharagpur, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the next event in the Guru Kripa Foundation Leg Dem series. Today we present to you a lecture demonstration on gharanas of tabla and its relevance in today's world, delivered by one of the foremost exponents of the instrument in the present generation of musicians, Pandit Abhijit Banerjee. Pandit Abhijit Banerjee hails from the Farrukhabad Gharana or school of tabla music, where he received extensive tutelage from the illustrious Padma Bhushan Pandit Gyan Prakash Ghosh. In a career spanning over 3.5 decades, Abhijit ji has toured across the world, both as a soloist as well as sharing the stage with some of the biggest names in the history of Indian classical music. Apart from being a performer, Abhijit ji himself is an illustrious guru and teacher. He regularly delivers lecture demonstrations and seminars in universities and music schools across the world. He has founded the Dhwani Academy of Percussion Music, which today has expanded and has branches in Los Angeles, in New York, in Singapore and in Kolkata. One of the very heartwarming initiatives of this academy, or that this academy has taken up, is to initiate blind children coming from less privileged backgrounds to Indian music and training them in this domain. Apart from being a tabaliya, Abhijit ji is also known for his unique compositions, his collaborations with musicians across different genres of world music, and his innovative approach to composition. He has composed music for Indian television, The music that he scored for the documentary The Trail on the city of Calcutta won the national award and was also screened in the music festivals at Amsterdam and Munich. One of the most complete musicians, Abhijit ji is trained not only in tabla but also in Indian classical vocal music and in violin at the highest level. I have personally known him for more than 20 years now, and I do know that even as a student he was brilliant in academics. He holds a bachelor's in English with a master's in journalism. Today we are fortunate, IIT Kharagpur is fortunate to have Pandit Abhijit Banerjee deliver this lecture demonstration on the gharanas of tabla. What are the different schools of music or schools of or the styles of playing tabla? How are they different and what are the commonalities? In today's connected world, are the boundaries becoming hazier? Or due to continuous innovation, are we seeing the growth of new schools or gharanas? We are going to listen to all of these from one of the foremost exponents and one of the most erudite musicians in today's generation. Thank you.
Namaskar, this is Abhijit Banerjee. I am very grateful to IIT Kharagpur for giving me this opportunity to talk about tabla, its gharana, and its implication and the necessity of gharanas, whether it is relevant or not relevant in modern days. So, to start with, I would say that tabla is one of the most popular instrument or rather percussion instrument of India, both in North India and South India. Tabla, when if we think it the scientifically, it's not a instrument which is oscillates cylindrically. It is a membrane kind of instrument, and so the basic tone or the basic frequency, like the sitar or sarod or guitar, when the basic frequency is there, then it is they have the overtones in integral multiple frequencies. But in any percussion instruments, the overtones are not like that. It means that if the basic frequency is 110, so the other frequencies or the overtones will be 220 or 330 or 440, even numbers, generally in sitar, sarod or string instruments, because it oscillates like that. Here it is a membrane instrument, and most of the membrane instrument, they don't behave like that. They behave like when you play, the overtones becomes if the basic frequency is 110, the overtones may come to 23.37 or to 34.80, something like that. But here tabla or most of these instruments which has this sahi or gab, this black thing, enables us to get a even note or a kind of 220 or 330, something like that, the overtones. So if that is the case, and that is why tabla probably is one of those instruments which we can call a melody percussion instrument, like piano. Piano also, it's a melody, but it is a percussion instrument. Here also tabla, you can really get D, C, E or F. So that is one of the main criteria of tabla, which made it very popular all over the world. Now so it is one of the major instrument, or you can say accompanying instrument. Though it is called accompanying instrument, it has got its own audience and its own melody, and it has got its own popularity for many years. Now it is believed that the original instrument of tabla was pakhwaj. Those who know Indian classical music or is accustomed to hear something about Indian classical music, they know that what is pakhwaj. It's a cylindrical drum, and both sides, and a very deep sound on the very deep sound on right hand side and left hand side. And we used to play pakhwaj with dhrupad and dhamar kind of thing. Those are very traditional vocal renderings, and with veena or surbahar, the father of sitar or sarod, or even sursringar, which is a newer version of surbahar. Sursringar is the father of sarod. Now surbahar or sursringar, they are still being played, pakhwaj is still being played, and dhrupad is still being sung, but the newer form of Indian classical music is khayal, thumri, tappa, dadra, where tabla has been introduced and tabla is being played. So it is believed that tabla was invented maybe about 700 years back, and then after that, for last 350 years it is getting popularity. And let us go back to 350 years, because 700 years back people used to say that Alauddin Khalji at his time it was invented. But there is another another notion or another theory that it prevailed long before that, and in the caves you can see the gods and goddesses, they are playing double-headed drum like this. And in Maharashtra and Pune, near Pune, there are places where you can say that there are these kind of instruments in the caves. So that's a controversial thing. We really don't want to dig into that. Now let's talk about this 350 years back, when Siddhar Khan, from Delhi, Delhi being the main place of all music and being the capital of India, so all the musicians generally used to go there. And so we the oldest name we get is Siddhar Khan. So he was the originator of Delhi gharana. So Delhi gharana is still considered as the oldest gharana, or the beginning of the modern tabla, around 350 years back, 330 to 350 years back. And then what happened is that from Siddhar Khan, so the style was generally for finger movement. So like so only 2 finger movements. Well, I forgot to tell you the baya. This is called tabla and this is called baya. the baya has a very important role to play in the art of tabla. Why? Because it here it gives a melody, here it gives the bass or bass, and it sounds like talking, like, you know, hello, or So all these expressions, human expressions, can be done through the baya. So baya has got very important role to play in tabla, and when we play tabla, basically it holds the rhythm and it holds the music, as the bass is very important in a music. Here this one is very important in tabla music. So that is why this baya is very important role to play, which I when I was discussing about the frequencies, I forgot to mention about this. And as you know that this is metal and mainly copper, and this is wood. And another thing is that many people, even if they play tabla or even if they know about tabla, don't know how this gab or sahi is made. Both these gabs or sahi is made with iron ore, charcoal and rice, and they make a paste out of that and they put it layer by layer. So before preparing the tabla, you have to tell the tabla maker that I want this tabla in C, or I want this tabla in D, or I want this tabla in lower F. So they will make it like that, and accordingly they will choose the wood. Generally the good wood are shisham or mahogany or neem. So it's not segun or teak. Teak wood is not used for tabla. Now in older times you can see that these bayas were made of clay, but maybe for for traveling reasons it was very hard for a person to travel with a clay baya, because it might get it might get broken. So generally then this copper baya was invented, and nowadays steel baya is invented, and it is being played. Now in Delhi, this Siddhartha, here he invented this Delhi gharana, and the Delhi style still maintains this two-finger movement. And when they used to play terekete, it was like terekete. Some people were used to play terekete, but most of the people used to play terekete. So this is mainly two-finger movements, and they used to play in the edge of the tabla, which is called kinar. So, and then what he did, he specially invented a kind of bowl or kind of composition which we call qaida. Qaida means you are playing something in a stylish way, and the qaida has got some specialities, like you have to end with the bowl, specific bowl, tina kene, like dhatete dhatete dhadatete dhagatina kena. Or another thing is that with qaida, with the given spectrum or given bowls, like dhatete dhatete dhadatete dhagatina kena, you cannot use any other bowls, and you have to use only dhatete dhatete dhadatete dhagatina kena. So dhatete dhagatina kena, like that. You cannot use dhati or dhagena this kind of bowls, or terekete or dhere dhere, any other bowls you are not allowed to use, and you have to improvise with that. So it's a very interesting way of playing tabla, which is qaida. So Delhi gharana is very well known for qaida, and one of the famous qaida was dhatete dhatete dhadatete or dhati dhage na dha terekete dhati dhage tina kena. Here the terekete, see, this terekete. So, from Delhi, so far I know that there his descendants Mia Bakshu or Mia Makshu and his brother, both of them, they came. I forgot the name of the brother. I think something like Munna Khan or something like that. But Mia Bakshu was very much famous. That's why we all remember his name. So he came to Lucknow. The reason was that when after Siddhar Khan's death, there was political disturbances, and because some invaders came and they wanted to conquer Delhi. So all these political problems were there. So they thought that let us go there, and plus the king of Lucknow, being a very musically minded person, invited them to come there. So both of them, they went there, and we get this name of Mia Bakshu because he was a very versatile tabla player, and then he changed the style basically because in Lucknow they had to play many times with the dance. Lucknow was very famous for dance, as you know that later Wajid Ali Shah was a very famous dancer. So it was his father or his grandfather who invited them, and so they went there. So they changed the style of playing. So the style, because it needed more volume to match with the ghungru of the dance, and it needed more big kind of sound. So they started playing with the full hand, which is kind of pakhwaj style, which we know, because pakhwaj is to play with the whole hand movement, not too much of fingers. Okay, so they got this pakhwaj style and started playing like. So they started using this middle portion, which is called sur or maidan. So they started using this middle portion. So most of the Lucknow playing is we call it khulla baj, means so although they used to use the kinar, but they used to use more the maidan or the sur portion, and tere kete they used to play with 3 like no. So they got more power and more volume as well, because they started using 3 fingers. So not like that. So with the 3 fingers you get more power. So definitely you get more volume. So and that matches with the dance, the foot movement. So it was like that. So Lucknow gharana, that became the style of Lucknow gharana. Now basically, if you are saying that gharanas, there are so many gharanas, I mean mainly 6 gharanas, but if you say basic gharanas is Delhi and Lucknow, because one is kinar, 2 fingers, another is maidan or inside and 3 fingers, and whole hand movement. So you can say that basically these are the 2 main gharanas. After this, from Delhi, one of the descendants, they came to Ajrara, which is a very small place near Delhi, south of Delhi, and they started kind of Delhi gharana, but it's different from Delhi. Why? Because they started playing everything in Tisra Jati, which is triplets 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. See, Delhi dhatete dhatete dhadate dhagati nakena dhatete dhadate dhate dhagati nakena, or dhati dhagena dhatere dhati dhagati nakena 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Here they dengi dinakene dhagate tekete dhara gekita dengi dinakene dhagene dhateke dhate dhagene dhara gekita dengi dinakene. Mainly they used to also use 2 fingers, but at the same time they used to have all these playing of in triplets like 1 2 3 1 2 3. That was, it's not that they didn't have anything in 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Yes, they have, like I remember one bowl of famous one famous person from this gharana. I will tell you the name later. What is this? Ghegete ghegete ghede ding dinagene takete ghegete ghede ding dinagene ding dinagene takete kete ding dinagene ghegete kete ding dinagene takete. This is the composition of very famous Ajrara Gharana Tabla Maestro or Ustad Habibuddin Khan Sahab. He was a very famous tabla player in his times and still now, and we all follow him in many cases. So this is Habibuddin Khan Sahab style. And see, so this is a 4/4, but mainly they used a so this kind of thing. Another peculiarity of Ajrara Gharana is that they used to play something very different in the single, and they used to change the bowls and keep the pattern of the rhythm, but change the bowls in the speed so that to make it easier to play. So this is a very speciality of Ajrara Gharana, and nowadays my great friend Ustad Akram Khan Sahab is from Ajrara Gharana, and his father is also from Ajrara Gharana, so they have a lineage. And then now I am coming to Lucknow Gharana. So Lucknow Gharana from Mia Bakshuji, there are Lallan Khan and many other people, and right now we know Ilmas Khan Sahab. Before that I have seen in my childhood Afaq Hussain Khan Sahab. Abid Hussain Khan Sahab used to come to Calcutta, because I am from Calcutta. So Abid Hussain Khan Sahab used to come to Calcutta to teach. One of in Kolkata's and India's very learned tabla player, Hirendra Kumar Ganguly, who is known as Hiru Babu. And from there Pandit Santosh Krishna Bishwas also learned from Hiru Babu and little bit maybe from Afaq Hussain Khan Sahab or Abid Hussain Khan Sahab, maybe not, but mainly from Hiru Babu. And the offshoot of Santosh Krishna Bishwas is nowadays very famous tabla player Pandit Sapon Chaudhary. He is the one of the famous tabla players from Lucknow Gharana. So if you see his hand, or if you see Ilmas Khan Sahab's hand, it is very close like this, and they generally play within this thing. They play Kinar, but less than Delhi, much less than Delhi. So that is the peculiarity of Lucknow Gharana. And Khulla Baj, like Dad, like that. Gentaran dha te kredit dhate gene dagate din lagate dinagene ding dinagene dha dha te kredit dhate dha te ding dinagene dene tak, or you can see that very famous Lucknow style rela. Or Pandit Sapan Chaudhary Sapanda plays like. So this kind of, you can see that more use of inside and less use of kinar. Now from one of Lucknow Gharanas, very famous tabla player was Pandit Ram Sahai ji, who learned in Lucknow and then came back to Benares and started playing very good tabla with a more pakhwaj kind of style, and at the same time he incorporated some of the kavitva like Ganapati, Gananath, Ganesh, Lambodar, Sohe, Jatajut, something like that, or Shivji ka Paran Jatajut, Shankar, Ganesh Bhagavan, like that. So this kind of Bhagavan Stuti or Shivji Stuti or Surya Paran or Ganesh Paran, which Pandit Kishan Maharaj used to play very अति विचित्र गणनाथ आज मृदंग बजावे धट धड़ान धर धर कृधान दिन 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 नग नग नग. So many people have heard about this wonderful composition. So these are from Benares Gharana, and it was started by Pandit Ram Sahai ji, who was a wonderful tabla player, and from his offshoots are Pandit Anokhelal ji, Pandit Kishan Maharaj ji, Pandit Kishan Maharaj ji, Pandit Kanthi Maharaj ji, then Shanta Prasad ji is also from Benares. He used to live in Benares, and he used to say that he learned from his father Pratap Maharaj ji. So there are a lot of, and nowadays our good friend Ram Kumar Bhai, Ram Kumar Mishra ji, they are all from Benares Gharana. So it's a very famous gharana, and it has a different style of playing, and their baya is this baddis or these chots are from dari, not from kind of this leather. The baya are from daris. So this is the Benares Gharana. So it is basically came from Lucknow Gharana, but it has got its own beauty, and slowly and gradually it differed from Lucknow Gharana and became and established its own identity through different players who became very famous, like I told you, Anokhelal ji, Pandit Kishan Maharaj ji, Kanthi Maharaj ji, and many others. Then I would say well, also I would like to name Pandit Anand Gopal Bandyopadhyay, who just very recently passed away. He was also from Benares Gharana. I was very close to him. He used to live in Kolkata. So that is why I just wanted to take his name. Other than that, there is another gharana. There was another gharana which came from a relatively new is Farrukhabad Gharana, and it was started by Haji Bilayat Hussain, who was also a student of Lucknow Gharana, probably from Mia Bakshu, and then he belonged to a very small place which is called Farrukhabad. So he started his own style. He used to call Haji Bilayat Hussain because he was a wonderful gentleman. He was a kind of saint, and so what his speciality was, he kind of tried to make a balance between this Maidan and here. So all this got, like if I say my Guruji Gurudev Gyan Prakash Ghosh, Pandit Gyan Prakash Ghoshji's composition, Dhan Dhan Gadigina Naga Dhitta Kat Dhan Da, Dhere Dhere Kat Naga 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 Tere Kat Tak Gadigina Dhitta Kat Dhagina Takat Takat Dhagina Da, Dhagina Takat Takat Dhagina Da, Dhagina Takat Takat Dhagina Da. So how it's played? So see, more of this thing, but still we use the kinar. Farrukhabad mainly is known for its compositions. Many good compositions are there. Delhi is known for qaida, so as Ajrara, but Farrukhabad and Lucknow is more known for Gat. I just remember one Gat which Sopanda gave me. Dhaget taketida taketida diginidi nagenina taketi tak dhatake dhatete katag digine tane dhane taketi dhane dhatake dhatete katag digine dhag dhagine digi digine nag nagine tak takete dhatake dhatete katag digine dha dhatake dhatete katag digine dha dhatake dhatete katag digine dha. This is a composition from Lucknow Gharana which Sopanda gave me, so I just play you. Dhaget takete dha takete dha digine. So this is the composition. Another composition from Farrukhabad. Dhakr dhane dhadakr dha dha ghadnak tik nak ter tak tak ter tak ter ghadnak ter tak tak ter ghantran te te ghante te ghadnak tik nak tak ter tak ter tak ter tak ter tak. So like that. So you can see that in Farrukhabad there is a more balance between Sood and Kinar, where Lucknow is more towards the Sood, but you can see that the basically Farrukhabad emerged from Lucknow. Now today's so we talked about Delhi, Ajrara, Lucknow, Benares, Farrukhabad. Okay. Now I belong to Farrukhabad Gharana, which is relatively a younger gharana, and the offshoots of Farrukhabad from Masjid Khan Sahab, who is a descendant of Haji Bilayat Hussain, came to Calcutta and started living and taught my Guruji, Gurudev Pandit Grand Prakash Ghoshji, and from there his Masjid Khan Sahab's son also started living in Kolkata. Ustad Kiramatullah Khan Sahab, a very well known and very nice tabla player, and his son is Sabir Khan, who is living here in Kolkata, and their sons are also, so the lineage is in Kolkata. So that is why we are more towards the Kolkata has a very big influence of Farrukhabad, and so later my Gurudev started the Farrukhabad Gharana in Kolkata. At the same time we started a offshoot of Farrukhabad Gharana, I mean not the descendants but the students. They went to like Amir Hussain Khan Sahab or Tirkwa Khan Sahab, they went to they went to Mumbai and they started playing there. So Farrukhabad Gharana, one was in Kolkata, one was in Mumbai, and so these are two different the same gharanas, but it is in here and in Mumbai. So these are two different one is a student gharanas, and then one is the direct descendants of Haji Bilayat Hussain who came to Calcutta. So this is what we came to know. So now my question is that whether, well, before that I want to talk about another gharana which is Punjab gharana. So Punjab had a different lineage. Pakhwaj was very popular playing in Punjab, and also similar kind of thing was there which is called Jodi, which was there, the jodi means similar like tabla, but this was wooden and this was also wooden, and they used to play like this, and the sahis were made out of wheat flour, and they used to play pakhwaj in kirtan and bhajan and all this kind of thing. Like that, in Bengal also you can get clay sri khol, which one portion is very high and one portion very low, and people used to play with with kirtan, Bengali kirtan, which was inaugurated, or which was came into existence with the great saint Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, talking about the Punjab gharana, used to play, they had the whole hand movement more, and it was mainly it was mainly popularized by Ustad Kader Bakhshji, whose descendants are Ustad Allah Rakha Khan Sahab and then Ustad Zakir Hussain, and then there are like Tariq Khan Sahab from Pakistan. So it was mainly in Lahore, mainly where Badi Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab is also from there. So the main place of tabla in Punjab was kind of there, and Kader Bakhshji popularized it, and then Ustad Allah Khan Sahab came to Mumbai. At the same time, this jodi was being played also with the pattal and this kind of thing. So they had this jodi still now going on. So Punjab gharana had a mixture of the Hindu culture and the Muslim culture. Although right now we get whatever we get in India is mainly the descendants from of Ustad Kader Bakhshji because of Ustad Allah Rakha Khan Sahab and then later Ustad Zakir Hussain. So this is the thing about the gharanas. Now you can see that mainly gharanas take the name of the place where the person is coming from. Like Farrukhabad, nobody knows this place. It's a very small remote village in between Lucknow and Banaras. I still remember one story that I was going through train, and then in the middle of the night somewhere, because of some problem, the train stopped in one of the place, and it was Farrukhabad, and I saw from my window that it is Farrukhabad, it is written. So I came out with my tabla. I was going to perform in Lucknow from Benares. So I came out and I went there inside, and I asked people, is there somebody playing tabla or doing anything regarding music. So they were looking at me with big eyes as if they have never heard about this, and they said that no sahab, यहाँ पे कोई तबला बजाता नहीं है, nobody plays tabla here, and your train, आपका train छूट जाएगी, आप जल्दी चले जाइए. And by the time I came here, the train was gone, though I had to take a very kind of small which we'll call auto rickshaw in India, and I went to the next station to catch, because Farrukhabad was such a small station, not all the trains stopped there. So the next train would have been maybe 3 hours or 4 hours after, so I had to go. So this is the story. So nobody knows Farrukhabad, or nobody knows where is Ajrara, the small places, but still we carry the name of Ajrara. One more thing is that I would say that there is a kind of place like Ustad Munir Khan, from whom Ustad Ahmadjan Thirukwa, Ustad Amir Hussain Khan Sahab, they some of these big Farrukhabad people, they learn from him, and also some other gharanas. He was a very knowledgeable person, so people used to go and learn from him, and he was from Lalian. So people say that there should be another gharana which is called Lalian. Now my question right now is that Pandit Sapun Chaudhary lives in San Francisco. Ustad Hamajan Thirakwa used to live in Lucknow, although he is from Farrukhabad, and also he learned from Delhi, and then he moved to Bombay, and then Amir Hussain Khan Sahab, a big doyen of Farrukhabad Gharana, taught many students in Bombay and established his own style. So it is still Farrukhabad we call it, and then Ustad Masjid Khan Sahab came to Kolkata, and because of my Gurudev and Karamatullah Khan Sahab and right now Sabir Khan, Farrukhabad got a little bit different style. Basically, mainly all the instrumentalists like Vilayat Khan Sahab, Ravi Shankar ji, Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, Pandit Nikhil Banerjee, they are from Kolkata. So all the tabla players, they had to fit in the Kolkata, the playing with instrumental music. Why? While in Bombay, most of the tabla players, they had to play with the vocal style, because most of the big vocalists were there in Dharwad and used to come to Bombay. Later Ravi Shankar ji came to Bombay and Ali Akbar Khan Sahab also went to Bombay, but the basic style, so these people, Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, they generally took Bengali tabla players or the Farrukhabad who were coming from Bengal, they took him to Bombay, also played with them, like Pandit Shankar Ghosh, Pandit Kanai Dutt, Karamatullah Khan Sahab himself, all these people. Then Nikhil Ghosh ji, who learned from my Guruji at the very beginning, and then he learned from also Hamajan Thirakwa Khan Sahab, went to Bombay and settled down. So Nayanda right now, and then his students and his son, everybody is playing Farrukhabad still. So they carry kind of little bit of Calcutta style, at the same time some Bombay style. Why I am saying Calcutta style and Bombay style? So I think this Farrukhabad, maybe 300 years back, or 200 years back, or maybe 100 years back, it started from Farrukhabad. Now there is a time to think whether we call it like Kader Bakhshi from Pakistan. Now Allah Raka Khan Sahab, in his thoughts, he gave it to tabla and he enriched it. Then Ustad Zakir Hussain, who lives in San Francisco, and so he gave his thought, his genius, and made it enriched. So other than Banaras Gharana, mostly the people, even in Banaras Gharana, Ram Kumar Bhai started living in Delhi. So people migrate from one place to another, and that's how at that time the gharanas started. Like somebody migrated from Delhi to Ajrara and started his own gharana. So why not somebody from Rampur came to like Masjid Khan Sahab from Rampur came to, you see, this is Farrukhabad gharana, but Masjid Khan Sahab was in the court of Rampur. So because the musician had to travel for their bread and butter. So they came and then established himself, and for 3 generations or even 4th generation, they are living in Kolkata, and they have their own style, which is little bit different from some of the bowls, maybe kind of same with Benares, with Bombay and with Kolkata. Like dhage tete dhinagene, dhage tete dhagene, dhage tete dhinagene. This qaida is a very Farrukhabadi qaida, and Arvind Mulgaonkar ji used to say that anybody who plays Farrukhabad should know this qaida. So you see, dhage tete dhinagene, very beautiful balance of sur and kinar. Dhage tete dhinagene, dhage tete dhagene, dhage tete dhinagene. Or you see, dhik dhina trake dhina dhagi na tik dhina na tik dhina trake dhina dhagi na dik dhina, another bowl which was popularized by Benaras Gharana. Some people say that this started in Lucknow, but then it was popularized by Benaras Gharana, so it became a Benaras Gharana bowl. So something like that in our Gharana, in Farrukhabadi Gharana, somebody heard that bowl dhik dhina trake dhina dhagi na tik dhina, and because of the ego clash, maybe he didn't want to play that same bowl, and he started playing dhage na dhake dhina dhagi na tik dhina na take na dhake dhina dhagi na dik dhina na. which came from so this Dhik Dina Take Dina it became so popular. It is being played by Lucknow Gharana, it is being played by Ustad Zakir Hussain, it is being played by Anandu Chatterjee, it is being played by me and all my contemporaries, because we like it. So the gharanas nowadays, first of all, I think the gharanas definitely should exist, because though you play everything, but you should have your own identity. So where you learn from, that you carry through your music. So you should have that identity, but at the same time you should have your own identity. You should not copy your guru, or you should not copy somebody. So that is your own identity, but still that shows or reflect from which house you are. So definitely there is a gharana, definitely. But should we not think that this gharana, which was Farrukhabad gharana, like from Lucknow when Banaras gharana started, so why not from Farrukhabad there is one gharana, maybe Mumbai gharana, and there might be one gharana which is Kolkata gharana, because these styles little bit different, and slowly and gradually with time it will become more different and more poles apart. So although the origin is this, you can see that this origin was Farrukhabad gharana, but at the same time it has got its own style. So should we not call it Kolkata gharana? Or like when I come out of India, when I play, or when Anindoda plays, or somebody from Kolkata generally play, they said, oh, this is kind of Kolkata style we see. They don't know about gharana. The people, though, they don't know at all anything about gharana. So as a layman, they listen to one tabla and the other tabla, and they say, oh, this is kind of Calcutta style. Like the making of tabla is also different from Calcutta to Bombay to Delhi. It's a different one. So here also it's oh, this is Calcutta style. Now in the same Calcutta, Kumarda also lives there, but he is from Banaras lineage. So as soon as he starts tabla, people say that, oh, he is from Calcutta, but his style is little different, he plays little different. So those who don't know, then we have to explain that he is from different lineage. But see, the thing is that whoever is coming from Calcutta, although is Farrukhabad, but somebody from Bombay, his playing is little different. So those who are absolutely no idea about Indian classical music, they say that this person from Calcutta and that person from Bombay, they still differs. First of all, the sound of tabla differs, because Calcutta daya sound and baya sound is totally different from Bombay made tabla and baya sound. Secondly, the way of playing, the thinking is also little different according to the playing style they have to follow most of the time. So this is very this has got very important. So should we not think like one Calcutta gharana, one Bombay gharana, and also Allah Rakha Khan Sahab Punjab gharana we said, but he was a Punjab, he was from Punjab, but now he spent most of his time in Bombay. So why not we call it Allah Rakha Khan Sahab's own gharana? We don't have the way of calling somebody the gharanas in somebody's name. That is not the tradition. So we take the name of the place where he was born, and where he carried on, or where he invented, or where he served, like from some Raja or something like that. So so right now, should we not, there is, like Laliana Gharana, people have started thinking that we should call it Laliana Gharana. Like there are other places where good tabla players were there, like Indore is another place. Like in the vocal style, Amir Khan Sahab used to be from Kirana Gharana, but right now people have started saying that it should be called Indore Gharana, because his style is, he has made his own style. So they are not calling it Amir Khan Gharana, but they are calling it Indore Gharana, because he is from Indore. So like that, Guru Gyan Prakash Ghosh or Karamat Khan Sahab is from Kolkata. So their lineage, their playing style, should we not call it Kolkata Gharana rather than Farrukhabad Gharana? That's a question I think it's going to come within few years now, as people have started thinking, and I think we should rethink it. It's not showing disrespect to our great gurus and great masters who has created it, but it is just rejuvenating or thinking of naming something as they themselves started their life from Lucknow and started calling it Farrukhabad. So they showed us the way that you know, since you don't put your name, you should put the place name where you belong to give a different identity. So that is the question, and this is my thinking that we should start thinking about this, and slowly and gradually maybe we will define some ways to name it in the place name the more relevant, because nobody knows Farrukhabad nowadays. Nobody, Lucknow still people know, but nobody knows Farrukhabad, nobody knows Ajrada. Akram Bhai lives in Delhi, so why not Delhi Gharana is one, but Ajrada Gharana is Akram Bhai is, you know, his lineage is there, but you know he lives in Delhi. So should we not call something else, something we should think, so that you know his and he established his style. So should we not call something else, so that his style and his identity will be established. So this is a big question about the gharanas. I think we should come out of this. Everything should grow, so we should come out of these old things and come with new names, as those old people also did the same thing of coming from one place and establishing their own birthplace name or their service name where they served. So why shouldn't we do that also? Why should we go with that old things? Why will not make it a new thing, so that it gets some new fresh air? Thank you, namaskar, and be safe. Namaskar.